Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Hardly Millennial podcast, where we are young, we are certainly dumb, and we are full of
Snippy. That's opinions backwards.
Very good, Justin.
Well done, sir.
Very
Nailed it.
good. So my name is Atom.
I am Justin.
I'm Matthew.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
How are we all doing today?
Somewhere between thought I was going to get to go to sleep and full from dinner.
Ooh, okay. I like that. I like that we were able to just, put a cog in your machine there.
Me too.
I had a fabulous day today.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
I had a fabulous, productive day.
Tell us what you did, Matthew.
Well, Justin was off today.
Yes.
And you see, I was off today. So we joined forces.
Oh, shit.
And we live in a little hodunk town. There's a lot of agriculture and farming around us. So we went to the local farming shop establishment.
It was very local.
Very local. And we bought ourselves, what did we buy, Justin? What was it?
We bought several things. We bought 4-post and a livestock panel to make a trellis.
That's what it was, livestock panel. Yes, so we bought a 16-foot long wire panel, loaded it up in my truck, drove it home, and then installed that bitch in it looks like a parabola. Is there a better, more common word for that?
An arch.
An arch. There we go. We arched it, and we're growing grapevines on it now. So it's super dope.
That's beautiful, you guys.
And
But also, I almost bought a baby turkey.
we can. If she would have allowed us to buy just one, we probably would have a turkey right now.
It'd be in the backyard right now, and I'd be like, how am I going to keep this turkey alive?
I'm very glad that did not happen.
Me too.
The lady at the shop refused to sell one turkey. She said she only sells turkeys and chickens in pairs
I feel like
because
that's not uncommon.
they get lonely.
Yeah, it's common. But
I feel like most animal sellers do that. If you're gonna buy this one, you have to buy the other one.
I just did not want 2 turkeys. I just wasn't
Two is
feeling
too
my-
much.
Yeah.
2 is too much. We've had 2 turkeys in the past.
And
It's too
Matthew
much.
Yes.
did end up getting a new pet. Want to tell him about your new pet, Matthew?
Oh, we have. Oh my gosh, how many? 6, 12, 18, 19. We have over 20 new additions to the backyard.
That's right.
I'm growing lettuce
Growing lettuce.
for the first time ever.
The regular lettuce, you guys, not the devil's lettuce.
Oh yes, regular, just lettuce, like for salads.
Yeah.
I'm growing salad stuff.
Yeah.
So, a couple of things about this, because it sounds really corny and dumb. Like, oh, you're growing lettuce. Big fucking deal. It is a big fucking deal, and let me tell you why. So, one, I've never grown lettuce before. This is new for me. Apparently, it's very easy. I got lucky on that. 2, I have a particular thing about growing plants where I enjoy to grow them from seeds. I don't like any of this bitch-made stuff of going to the store and getting an established plant and then going and putting it in your backyard and being like, I'm a gardener.
Right.
It's cute and it's lovely and it's better than doing nothing, but I like to bring life to something from nothing. Okay. So I can't create the seed, so I just start with that and then I create a plant. So I planted a shat ton of seeds. I bought a bag. Well, Justin bought a package of seeds. And I assumed there were going to be 10, maybe 15 in here. And I shit you not, Adam, there were 100 seeds in this package. There were a lot.
So, really quick. So, we have a fourth guest with us today on this podcast. And that is my cat, Harley, who likes to sneak herself into the room every time before we start
She is in my lap,
podcasting.
getting loved. And she knows once we started the podcast that there's nothing I could do about it. So she knows she just gets loving for an hour.
She's a conniving little beast. So yeah, she's just sitting in Matthew's lap and she keeps trying to claw at his face, playfully, but just can't quite reach.
It's the same loving action that she makes on my carpet.
She's trying to do it to my face.
Yeah.
Lovingly.
Lovingly.
Anyway, I bought a bunch of lettuce seeds, put them in the ground. I have half of them growing inside, half outside. I'm going to make it happen.
Fuck yeah. We're going to have a lot of lettuce. I'm excited to eat all of this homegrown food.
Yeah,
So
me
I'm not
too.
growing any of the food for you guys. None of the greens. None of the squash or the lettuce. It's not for you.
Well, I bought them, so yes, you are.
I'm growing them for the tortoises.
Oh, them too. They're
We
family.
have two tortoises that are part of the Millennial household, and I love them. I never thought I would love tortoises so much, but I constantly think about how to make their life better, and I try to feed them different food.
They're fucking dinosaurs.
Dude, they're so fucking cool.
For the first time, sometime last year, I think it was last year, I finally saw a full-grown tortoise of the same breed that we have.
In real life?
Yeah, it was the one that our friend's mom got.
Oh, yes,
Kong.
yes.
Yeah.
Justin, real quick, tell us about the tortoises real quick. What kind are they? Where are they from?
Okay. So they're actually very common. They're called the sulcata tortoise or an African spur-thighed tortoise. They come from Africa, the Sahara Desert area, and they're really awesome. They're the third largest tortoise in the world, right after the Aldabra tortoise and the Galapagos tortoise. And they cost anywhere between like $30 and $100 when they're little babies, and they're absolutely adorable. A little hard to keep alive, but then they start just growing like weeds. So people get them because they're really cute, and then they want to rehome them once they hit, 30 pounds. But they grow to be up to 150 pounds. So you do have to have some space for them. But they have the coolest personalities, and the amount of joy that you get out of having one versus the amount of work that they require from you is absolutely fantastic if you have the space.
So
Totally, dude.
So having lived with Justin for quite a few years, we've had a few tortoises over the years, and Justin had always told me that they'll get big, and I'm like, okay, they'll get big, sure,
whatever.
And then our friend's mom bought a fully grown sulcata tortoise,
Yeah.
and holy fuck, I was like, dinosaurs still exist. They still walk amongst us because here is one.
You can literally sit on it and it can move around.
You can literally, a full-grown man can sit on it, and it would be whatever. Let's go. And let me tell you, when that thing starts walking towards you, all you can do is move.
It does not go around you.
They're so cool.
It will walk directly in a straight line as often as possible. So if there is a bush, even a rose bush or a oleander bush or something that's 5 feet high, it just walks in a straight line and everything lays down for it.
Yes. They're fucking huge. I can't even imagine two of those things in our backyard right now.
A few things will have to change.
Yes.
They take a while to get to that big, though.
Yeah.
They grow fast. They do grow fast, but not,
I mean, the biggest one we have right now, which, how would you compare the size of it right now for people listening?
like a smaller watermelon.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, like a small. They're like that size right now. And I remember when we first got them, just a couple of years ago, it could fit in the palm of your hand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So they grow quick.
They've grown, they grow pretty quick.
I always thought that they were just kind of like a rock that sat there and didn't do anything because they don't make any noise. They don't really, But, dude, no. If you hang out with a tortoise for a minute, like, they're little badasses.
You learn they have preferences and they're really assertive about what they prefer. They have their spots that they really like. And they're actually just very social. When they see you, you're like, all right, well, you're either here to give me water or food. Let's go see what you're about. But they're also very curious creatures and they get very bored. So it's not very nice to keep them cooped up for too long. They like stimulation. They like things to push and pull and dig.
That was one thing that I learned because you and I, Justin, we went through a reptile phase, or more so you
Big
did.
time.
And I was along for the ride, But like, so at one point we had like 25 different reptiles living with us in an apartment that we had together.
We did.
And one thing I learned from that was because I thought just all like reptiles and stuff were just like you had them because they were just cool to look at, they were cool
they're
to
like
have.
living flowers.
But no, these fucking lizards and shit, like they have personality. Like I've had 2 corn snakes over my life now, and one was vastly different than the other. And Fucking Harley. Jesus Christ.
I'm actually going to take a set. I'm just going to remove her from
Yeah,
the
I
set.
think that's
Sorry,
a
there may
smart
be some
idea.
disruption here for a moment, guys.
She just tried to like kamikaze the chair that Matthew is sitting on. Bye, Harley.
See you later.
Fucking cats.
Alrighty, folks, we're back in business.
But anyways, like, and one thing I learned was that reptiles, when you have an enclosure for them, you can't just have that same enclosure for them. You have to switch it up, like, or at least they recommend you switch up like the landscape of the enclosure every like few months,
Or they'll
just
kinda,
to
like, get
offer
stir
a different
crazy.
kind of stimulation. You basically create the illusion like they're somewhere else now.
See, so they're not just dumb rocks. Like they have some
No.
level of knowing where they're at.
My favorite reptile was Tina, the bearded
I was just
dragon
gonna
we
talk
had.
about
You
her.
love Tina
I
so
really
much.
do, man.
I never got to meet
really
her.
Miss her.
So before Tina, I don't believe we had. Was she the first reptile in the apartment?
I don't know if she was the first, but she was definitely like one of the first.
What
So
was Tina?
Tina was a bearded dragon. She was a citrus fire bearded dragon. She had a little bit of like an orangey yellow tint to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember bringing her home and taking her out because bearded dragons.
Like it's a baby. I
Well,
remember
it was a really cool experience because bearded dragons are extremely social and they like to be around you and they like to interact with you. And she was definitely that, but she had a little bit of attitude toward us as well, but in the best way, you know.
Yes.
She never bit us or tail whipped us or anything like that. She was kind of a queenie bitch. So I remember bringing her home.
She's
and-
like a mean girl.
yeah, and her walking around, looking around the apartment, and then Adam took his finger and wiggled it at her, and she goes, "I'll take that as a come here." So she kind of came toward him, and he's looking at her like, "Really? Am I interacting with this lizard right
I was
now?"
like, what the fuck? Yeah.
So he continued to wiggle his finger, and she walked over to him, and that was it. That's when he realized, I think, that reptiles can actually have serious like personality that are very distinguishable from another animal.
Yes. I mean, and there definitely was. And because I remember even after that, just, through a time we were going to like reptile expos and stuff like that, as well as I learned I had other friends who had these bearded dragons, and
I think it's more popular than I assumed, at least.
Yeah,
It's pretty
yeah.
popular.
But they and like that's when I started to see like, oh, this one acts vastly different than the one that we have at home acts, or this one's boring whereas mine's super entertaining, just different things like that. And I was like, oh shit, these another one that did it though was I had a corn snake that Justin actually got me for my 1-year anniversary of living in LA when then I moved like a few months after that. But he had got me this red corn snake named Rose. And this snake was a fucking bitch.
Oh, no.
Bitch. And I had her for years, too. I had her for like 5 years. But my way of taking her out of the cage was you basically just had to stick your hand in there. The second your finger made any kind of contact with the inside of the cage, she was like ready to attack you. And then she would literally just have to, she'd like go at my finger and she'd bite onto my finger. And I'd just use my finger to pick her up. Like that out of the cage. Funny. She was such an aggressive little bitch.
I used that technique with a 7-foot boa constrictor.
I remember
He really
that.
did, you guys.
I truly did. I'm not even joking on any part of that statement.
It was soon after you first started living here, too.
Yeah, right away. We had 2 7-foot boas that lived in my room because my room was their room before I moved in.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I went to, what were we doing? Were we cleaning the cage or were we feeding them? We were
feeding them.
We were feeding them.
And they
So you have
wouldn't
to
eat.
separate them when you feed them. So taking them out of their enclosure was fine because they were hungry. So they were docile. So I took them out. It was no big deal. Put one in a container. One stayed in the cage. And then after they ate, about an hour later, I go to take the one that was in the big container out to put him back in his enclosure. And he was not docile anymore. And he fucking clamped onto my hand and bit the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. And then I thought to myself, well, he's already biting me. And it wasn't horrible. So I was like, okay, let's just keep going. So I took the snake and put it back in its enclosure.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I bought a snake hook. Because I was not about to let that happen to me.
Keep in mind, too, guys, that they're boas, so they don't have, like, crazy fangs or anything. They're just, like...
They're like bristles.
Think of, like, a pair of scissors, like kitty scissors, just snipping the shit out of your hand.
Yeah.
I didn't want the
I
same
bled,
fate.
but it wasn't horrible.
Hashtag me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, reptiles are cool, though. I definitely understand why people get into them like they do, like you did. But
I feel like coming back on. I mean, there's just a couple. What's interesting about having them is they like you, they appreciate you, but they'd never actually get attached to you.
yeah.
So with some animals, like this giant frog I used to have that used to eat
That thing
rats.
sucked.
Biggie Smalls.
Biggie Smalls, he was a giant
dumbest
African
pet in the
pixie
world.
frog, and he got big enough where he could
you
eat
brought
rats.
us a lot of joy through the years, though.
And I
He
got
did nothing.
him,
He literally just laid in one spot.
but that's what's cool. So low maintenance for the spectacle that you get, but you get them when they're like the size of a quarter, and they're eating crickets, and then they move up to mice, and you just are so excited for them to keep growing and growing, and they grow fast.
They'll even eat other frogs.
They'll even
Yes.
the other frogs. Yes, they will. And but at some point, because he wouldn't eat anything unless he could see it move. He didn't like anything that was not alive. So the bigger he got, and the more large prey you had to give to him, the more gnarly feeding would get. It was just like, all right, I can't do
Yeah.
this anymore. So yeah, I grew him out pretty good, and then someone else got him. So that's cool about them. You can grow them out and sell them or give them away, or you can buy one that's already big that somebody else grew out. It's cool to do that. It's kind of fucked up to do that with like a dog.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, there's an attachment with a dog. Yeah.
A dog or a bird or
The
a
frog
cat.
doesn't give a fuck. The frog doesn't even know who you are.
Exactly. All they know is that when the top of that thing comes off, they're about to kill something.
Yes.
Yep.
So if you could because right now the animal count in my house, our house, is very low. If there was ever something fun and exciting that you thought you might look into getting again, what would it be? I'm just curious,
Like, again, like something we've already had.
or
and
something
I
that
would
you
wanna-
think I'd like to get one of those again one day, or one of those.
Well, I'm still really into the long-tailed tree monitors. Those,
Or the black ones?
yeah, the black ones.
Black tree monitor.
Black tree, but I feel like there was like other colors.
What the fuck is
too
that? Because
existed.
I don't feel like many people know what that is.
They're these giant. They're basically giant lizards with these long ass skinny tails that just like hang on tree branches.
That's kind of dope.
And they can, people will like hold them. And
So
they'll
Tina
crawl
without
up
the
their
beard.
arms and stuff
No,
like that.
not
No,
Tina
much
with the
bigger.
beard.
Oh, bigger.
Much
Yeah.
bigger, more
Oh.
sleek, less spiky.
Much bigger?
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
tree monitors, though, I think are always black.
Are they?
Yeah, but you liked a lot of the other monitors and stuff, like the Asian water monitor.
Oh, the Asian water monitor was cool, but I mean, I'd have to be like rich and have
Yeah.
somebody who can take care of that shit for me.
They're
I just wouldn't want to
enormous.
look at it,
And they need to swim and stuff.
Yes. But the big lizards like that. Another one that I would like to have again, probably I'll have sooner than the monitor, would be a Chinese water dragon.
Oh, those are cool.
And
we
we
bought
had
one. We
one
try to
and it
keep it
died.
alive.
Yeah.
We got it from what I'm pretty sure is a.
Why don't you explain what a Chinese water dragon is?
All right, they are amazing.
They are.
So take a iguana that's very, very high maintenance, gets very big, and has a attitude, generally very aggressive, at least for part of the year, and take away the aggression. They're a little bit more dainty, but much more bright emerald green.
Yes.
And they
Very
can eat.
pretty.
They eat live prey. They eat fish. They eat everything. It's really awesome. But yeah, emerald green. Asian water monitor, and it was cute. Adam named him Mushu.
From Mulan.
Yeah, and he was actually a lot of fun. It was fun working on his enclosure. Remember?
Yeah, but one thing I definitely learned is because they have to swim. They have to be able to swim.
Okay.
So like when you get them an enclosure, they have to have something big enough for them to swim around. And I think the one thing that did ours, or one of the things that did in Mushu, was we just did not have enough water.
I
for
think
him.
that we got a sick dragon, honestly, because we opened him up from that package that we got them in, and they all had like broken toes.
That's right. Yeah, one thing we learned really fast was not to order reptiles from online.
Yeah,
you
don't
tried,
do that.
Because you tried a few places, and
Yeah.
you always got defective ones. you
Yeah,
know?
everyone was kind of messed up. I got that one cool frog. I named her Angelica. She was a budget frog.
Yeah, she was cool.
She was cool. She looked healthy, but everything else was pretty, I don't know, gnarly.
Just go to an animal store and just fucking buy them from there. Don't use any of these like shipping services because tons of them exist.
They do.
You know, but they're just.
I want something cool for the backyard.
So one
really do.
One thing I had suggested to Justin at one point that I think you were pretty on board with until what happened with Tina. Oh, by the way, so Tina the bearded dragon. So we used to let her. Let me explain what happened to her first. So we used to let her go and hang out in the backyard because she was like a dog, at least at first, where she would hang out in the backyard for days. But when she was ready to like eat or come in, you would literally see her at the window, just kind of clawing at the back window. And then she'd let her in. She'd hang outside for another few days, and the cycle would continue. Well, on one of the cycles, when she was outside, we just a day came. We were like, we haven't seen Tina in a while. And we went looking, couldn't find her. Like, oh, well, she'll show up. And then she never showed up.
Oh, I thought you skipped the whole fun part about when we went outside and one day we just saw her in a tree.
Oh, well, one day we went outside and saw her in a tree.
She was living her best life, man. She was basking up way high up high on the tree. And we thought, oh, she just does that now. She enjoys the tree.
Well, I'm sure that's what happened to her. I'm sure she just like got way too far on a branch or something and then leapt into the neighbor's yard or something.
Yeah, that's what I think happened.
You know, and I know our neighbors have dogs, so we'll see.
Maybe they have a bearded dragon now too.
Yeah, maybe.
Another beardy will happen one day.
Another beauty. But anyways, the reason why I brought I had to explain that story is because I had talked to you once about, we should just get a slew of bearded dragons and just let them live in the backyard.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Because all these things do is they'll just find like rocks and shit to perch on and they'll just sit there looking majestic as fuck. So if you just had a bunch of these hanging out in the backyard, it'd be fucking cool to just have them hanging out there with you. But after what happened to Tina, it's like, okay, well, clearly they can climb the trees and all of the neighbors need to see this. Oh, look at all these giant ass fucking lizards in our neighbor's tree. And then all of a sudden there's just like a pest problem of bearded dragons and like a mile.
No such thing. We would be blessed to have such a thing happen.
Oh, we would though. We would.
In this small town.
I mean, they'd overrun the backyard fast. They'd repopulate pretty fucking fast.
I want a fox.
I know.
We know you want a fox.
I really want a fox. That's the pet that I would get.
I know.
It started as a joke, and then I realized that it was actually my heart speaking, and that I really do, more than anything in this world, I want I want a red fox. I don't want the bullshit other one that people get. I know what you're going to say, Justin. Fuck that fox.
What am I going to say?
The one...
The Finnick fox?
Yeah, fuck those.
I was
Those are
waiting to
gay.
see if he was going to say it because he said he knew what I was going to say.
Because you always say, you're always like, well, why don't you just get a Finnick fox? Because I don't like them. They're dumb. I want the big ass real deal. I want a fucking red fox, and I'm going to name him Jasper.
Jasper.
Yeah.
Jasper the red fox.
They're only like $4,000, dude. It's doable.
You know what? You could totally have one. It's on the record. I don't think you'll ever have $4,000.
And now it's on the record, folks. you all heard it here.
We'll keep you updated.
Justin says I can have a fox.
A red fox.
See if your
I
mom will
was
buy
very
you one.
specific to say red fox. They're awesome. People have them. It's a real thing. They're amazing. I'm gonna have one.
As far as pets kind of like that are concerned, not like that in the sense of like, oh, it's like a fox, but like just kind of like more wildlife-esque pets. I've always just wanted just wanted a bat. I don't know why. I don't know why either. Wanted a bat. I think they'd be cool pets to have, right?
To me, that's like saying I've always wanted a pigeon.
That's gross.
Exactly.
First off, pigeons are awesome. I love birds.
Justin.
I love birds. They come in all different crazy shapes and sizes. Long necks, long legs, curly, feathers. They're really awesome.
I hate doves. Morning doves suck. Fuck them.
Yeah, I don't like those things either.
They wake you up, and we actually recently figured out, which I had no idea of in the past, they love lavender. We planted some lavender plants along the sidewalk outside.
And they fucking lay in it and make it all wonky.
Dude, they have like an orgy in it in the morning. It's a straight dove party. And yeah, it makes it all wonky. They were nice and perfectly straight stalks, the lavender was when we first got it. And now it's just all over the place.
I fucking just hate birds. Except for penguins and flamingos. I don't mind those two.
You don't hate Panama.
So you don't mind flightless birds? Do flamingos fly?
Flamingos fly.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Uh-huh.
Have you seen one in the sky flying?
Yes.
I mean, I've seen videos. Not in person.
Oh, not in person.
Okay.
Is that a good
So it's not exactly totally confirmed.
Ever seen the
that
Dalai
we
Lama,
have
Matthew?
seen.
Ever seen him in real life? No.
I don't even know if I've seen a picture of a flamingo flying.
Do you
Is it in The Lion King?
Do you believe?
Yes, actually.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shit. I remember that part now. Damn, you're right. Okay. Flamingos fly, folks.
Yes, they do.
But flamingos and penguins...
Only when they have to during the winter.
Flamingos and penguins, though, I feel are not a part of the bird army, so to speak. I think they just mind their own business. I think they're, both like Sweden. They're like Sweden and Australia, they just do their thing and
Two
don't bother
questions.
anyone.
Do you believe that Panama is part of the bird army?
I think he would if he was not in captivity and held prisoner by us humans.
He's like a prisoner of war.
So then you cannot hate him.
Well, I can hate him, but I like to torture my prisoners a little bit, and I do enjoy doing that with them.
Okay, now the other question is for Matthew. You just referenced The Lion King to determine whether something was real.
Yes.
Fine, Matthew. Then do you believe that when we die, our bodies become the grass?
That's a stupid fucking question. Duh.
Then why couldn't I bury my hedgehog under the ground and have it feed my tree?
Well, look, apparently I was wrong about that because the tree's kicking ass. My whole philosophy on that,
On the
folks,
record.
was that when animals die, they turn into oil. They don't turn into nutrients for plants.
I'm not so sure they just turn into oil.
Well, it takes a really long fucking time, but eventually it turns into oil.
So what happens to them before they turn to oil?
Decomposition.
And then what?
Oilification.
After how many years?
Oh, like 1 million.
So it takes an animal 1 million years to decompose in the ground?
Precisely.
On the record.
Duh.
Are you guys happy you got that out of the way?
That's why
I'm
they make
happy
mummies.
that it's on the record.
That's why they invented mummies, so that things take longer to turn to oil.
So you are saying that the reason that mummies were created are so that things will take longer.
Correct.
On the record.
Affirmative.
Anything
I
you
don't
want to put on the
understand why
record,
this is
Adam?
so funny.
There's nothing except I just hate birds.
How did this come
I'm
up?
striking that from the record.
Oh, The Lion King.
Yes.
Dude, from the earliest age, that's how they begin teaching you. When your brain is the most malleable, they give you The Lion King, and it teaches you about the circle of life. Do you remember me telling you the other day on the couch? I was legitimately talking about elephant graveyards as if they were an actual real thing. And I was very confident in it. I'm like, yeah, the fucking elephant graveyards. You never heard
like
of
they
it?
all went to one place to die or
Yeah,
something?
when they're old, they move away from the herd and they go to the graveyard and they
that's
die
right,
in the
you're
elephant graveyard. It's in The Lion King.
Well, that one's not real.
That's not real at all, folks.
That's where they drug the
I was
bones
very sure that it was
and
real.
carcasses where the hyenas were going to eat. And they've accumulated there over a long period of time. So it's not actually an elephant graveyard. That's just what he told Simba and Nala to get them to go to a place where they'd be vulnerable.
Well, I Googled it, and I was not the first to Google it because you know the list of questions that comes up on Google? There was a mighty long list of different worded ways of asking, is there such thing as an elephant graveyard? And all of them said no.
Mind you, folks, he didn't believe his roommate who told him that there was no such thing.
I thought you were full of shit. I'm like, this dumb idiot doesn't know about elephant graveyards. Yeah. You won that one. You were right. Whatever.
I usually got the animal thing down pat.
That is true. You do know a lot about animals.
They're cool, man. Cooler than people.
When I first met
Like
you
plants.
and you were just like, I know about animals. or you said, or not that, you just said you love animals.
Yeah, I'm Justin. I know about animals. What's up? You want to hang out with me?
But I was just like, okay, like whatever. I've had people tell me they love animals before. And then like we'd be watching some movie or something would come on and they would say some weird obscure name like the Papago tortoise alligator from, the Mississippi River in
Papago?
Colombia, whatever. Just like some random shit that like nobody would know about, right?
Right.
And I would like scoff at the name or some shit like that. And Justin would be like, they actually live to be 65 and they're really cool. There's some people that own them over in like Australia and they have them these giant enclosures and they do that. And I just be like, what the fuck? Like, like calm down, man. And yeah, it just went from there. There's literally, I don't think any animal out there that I think you don't know at least one fact about, one fun fact.
Now it's cool because I've had so many that when someone talks about an animal, usually I can say, I've actually had a couple of those.
And just through being with you, I've had that also. I can do that now also. We've joked about that before too, where it's like also I'll find myself in a situation like a few years down the line when I'm not living with Justin anymore, and all of a sudden somebody will be like, "Oh yeah, I had this really cool Chinese order. Oh, yeah, I owned one of those. Well, I have a chameleon. Yeah, I had one of those too. Leopard gecko had 2.
That's never going to happen to you because you're never going to move out.
I was gonna say, do you know
That's true.
something that we don't know?
Probably,
Because
I might live here for quite a while. That's okay.
You're going to be together forever.
if
We're
anything,
you and I are going to be common law
Yes.
before you and your boyfriend would ever be considered such.
And we'll adopt Matthew
Oh, there we go.
so we can throw things
I was
at
here
him.
slightly before the boyfriend. I would hit common law slightly
Yeah, but-
before him.
But the boyfriend,
What about
they got like a fast pass,
Do they?
no?
like a Disneyland fast pass.
No, nobody gets a fast pass with the government.
Oh, I'm the government. That felt good. I'm just gonna absorb that for a while.
No, you conceited asshole. We were talking about being common law.
Oh, I like the other one better.
Oh, what were you thinking?
What the
we were
fuck were
talking
you
about?
thinking?
Yeah.
To the government. I thought he was referring to me. That you don't get a fast pass to the government.
What?
That is the first place Justin's mind went to, ladies and gentlemen. Not the government of any country.
No,
but
no.
We were referring
Clearly.
to him as a metaphor.
I was gonna put that on my door. The government.
You are.
Justin Lunsford.
You are a fucking whore. You fucking whore.
Oh boy. Well, this is thoroughly digressed. What do we do now?
That's a good question. Oh, I know what I can bring up. So this is funny because we've talked to you and I, Matt, have talked about this on the podcast before. And before we ended up podcasting, I went to Justin's room and asked him like, "Hey, do you know of any like subjects or something we can talk about?" And he started to tell me the story about a little girl who was raised thinking she had cancer and how she befriended a boy.
Did we
online.
literally do
Yes.
a podcast about that story?
Yes, at least half of it, I think, was about that story. And I
Well,
just-
let me tell you.
I don't think Justin was with us.
he
in his
wasn't.
defense.
He wasn't.
I was
with
not.
us, but
That's why I
That's
brought
why I
it
thought
up.
it was. That's why I thought
Okay,
it was
well
funny.
let's rehash for a moment. Let's bring the viewers up to speed. What's the story?
Okay, well, there's this girl named Gypsy Rose something or other.
Okay.
Her parents were divorced, so she was estranged from her father, more or less by her mother. She scraped her knee, and she went to the doctor. And then when she picked her daughter up from the doctor, she then told her, "So you have muscular dystrophy." They were able to tell that when she went in there. So now you have to go in this wheelchair because of your knee scrape. And you have muscular dystrophy and you probably won't be able to walk. Your legs are going to give out and you're going to become a paraplegic. And then shortly after, she let her daughter know, bad news, you have leukemia. We're going to get through this.
Okay.
Okay. Well, she also let her know that while she was sleeping, she had been having seizures. So that she has like nocturnal epilepsy or something like that, that something's up with her. She has a seizure disorder now. Okay. And this girl, it's all making sense to her because why would her mother lie? These things are happening. She did go to the doctor for, the knee thing. They did give her a wheelchair. Okay, then she informed her that she didn't have the ability to properly put down food, so she would need a feeding tube.
Are you serious?
Oh, I didn't know it went that far.
Oh, yeah. She had an implanted feeding tube.
Wow.
She told her that she had a disorder with one of her eyes, so that's why her eye was lazy. So it got to the point where this actually became very public, and the mom was kind of highly revered as somebody who dedicated her life to her ever sick child. The Make-A-Wish Foundation took the daughter to Disney World, and Habitat for Humanity gave them a home and built a wheelchair accessible ramp.
Wow, I knew just like
I
the
did not
basics
know
of
any
this
of that of
story.
it.
I did,
Wow.
yeah.
They got tremendous donations. Okay, they got $100,000 from Miranda Lambert, written directly to her from her own personal bank account, and Blake Shelton. They got, it was just celebrity after celebrity.
Wow.
They were local celebrities. They were prides of the town.
And there was no doctor who was like, no, I never
Well,
said that.
no doctor can say that they didn't if they never went to, if that's not the doctor that they went to. They never thought to, check these records or anything, because who wants to say prove that your daughter has cancer?
Right. I feel you.
It's pretty much understood that nobody wants their kid to have cancer.
Right.
So eventually she started questioning her mother and asking her, so I can walk. She goes, you cannot walk. If you get up, it's only a matter of time before you fall and you'll hurt yourself, and you have all these other things wrong with you that could cause more complications. Don't do that. We already have, medical bills and whatever. So she started to beat her daughter. Not beat her, but she'd kind of hit her with, she'd hit her with coat hangers and things like that for disobeying her. She would start saying, hey, when do I get to date? How do I talk to boys? And the mom would say, I won't allow it. You're never going to be able to. She'd asked about getting married. The mother told her she wouldn't allow it. So over time, she started looking at unconventional ways of actually meeting people. And she joined a website called Christian Dating for Free.
Okay.
And she met another boy on Christian Dating for Free. Now, this girl had been so coddled. She actually had, she wasn't functioning as old, as maturely as she should function. And she met a boy who was kind of similar. Didn't have the same kind of social interaction, anything like that. But she explained to him what it was. And she was very truthful to him, too, to explain that she did know how to walk and all of this, but she doesn't understand why it's happening, and that she has to go along with it now because this is how their family is surviving. Even her dad really thought that she had been crippled. Wow. So she meets this boy and introduces him to her mother.
Wait, but this was all just through online, wasn't it? I thought these two actually never met.
They did meet.
Oh.
They did meet. Yes. So they had met online. She told her he wanted help, or she told him she wanted help. So yeah, he comes down to her hometown, or the town she lived in at the time. Met the mom. The mom did not like him. It went really, really poorly. So in an effort to escape her mother, she actually had the boyfriend kill the mom, murder the mother.
So what I had read about it was that it was the boyfriend who convinced her that you need to kill your mom.
No, that's not what happened. She never thought of any other option. She just thought this is how we have to do it. She never thought of standing up in public and saying, hey, this is a fraud. Help me. I'm being abused. The only way that she knew to get out, and I just watched her get questioned. But it's really kind of weird. She has a really, really super high voice, like legitimately like a 5-6-year-old's voice. It's insanely high. And she looks like maybe 12 or 13. It's crazy. But no, the boyfriend killed the mother. She was hiding in another room, And she actually mentioned that when she heard her mother scream her name, she almost got up to help her, but did not. So they fled the scene, and she said it never crossed her mind that she could actually be caught for this.
How
But
strange.
they
But
had
her
set it
bar-
up perfect to get caught.
Yeah? How so?
Well, she wore a really unconvincing
Just
wig.
didn't take the precautions to...
Right. They checked into the hotel. They had their video in a hotel. They paid everything with the debit card with the paper trail.
Oh.
Everything. I mean, they weren't functioning at the right, level.
And how long did she go to prison for? Or was she sentenced to prison for?
I'm under the impression that it was like 6 or 7 years.
6 or 7
Or,
years?
or she's been in prison for 6 and 7 years, something like that.
Okay.
So who is the victim, really?
Well, so it's funny. So Matthew and I talked about just that, who's the victim, really. But we were both under the impression that the story was much different. I had thought that it was the boyfriend that convinced the girl to kill the mother, and she did. I didn't realize there was this big kind of conspiring thing, and I also didn't realize the extent of the abuse from the mother either.
Yes.
So, I mean, yeah, the question is, like, who's the victim? But that's why I'm curious about how long she actually got in prison, though, because if it was only like 6 or 7 years, well, maybe I could accept that, because I'm assuming she's not in prison. I'm assuming she's in like a rehabilitation kind of place.
Check it
right?
out. Why don't we Google it?
What's her name?
Her name is Gypsy Rose, and whatever one's not Lee, because that is a character from the musical Gypsy.
Oh. Gypsy Rose sentence. Let's see what it gives us.
She has kind of a pinched-looking little elf face.
Yeah. Is it blah, blah?
But like reasonably attractive. Like Matthew would approach her in public if he was feeling
Well, that's
confident.
not necessarily a compliment for anyone.
What?
That's not saying much.
Yeah. She wasn't particularly amazing
rude.
looking.
A 10-year prison sentence. So
Okay.
she's currently 27 years old, serving a 10-year prison sentence, and by all accounts doing just fine. In fact, she says she's thriving. She still tells me that she's happier now than with her mom. Gypsy Rose's stepmom, Christy Blanchard, told the Springfield Newsreader in February 2018, and that if she had a choice to either be in jail or back with her mom, she would rather be in jail.
Well, there's the answer right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely don't think the mom was a victim. I mean,
I don't think the mom was a victim either, but
Well, she was a victim of murder.
she was a victim of murder.
Yes, but I mean, just in regards to, like, there's only so much sympathy I feel like you could have for the mother as opposed to Gypsy,
Right.
But
I mean, just to be the devil's advocate, because I agree with you guys that, the mom was pretty shitty there.
Right.
But that's still a human being who had their own mental disorder.
oh, don't get me wrong, I
You
don't
know what I mean? The mom's obviously
no one's
suffering from something
condemning
else.
murder.
and that's just it. And I don't think that, and this goes off what you were saying earlier, Justin, I don't think she had to kill her mom. I think, just as you said, going on a talk show and standing up from your wheelchair and saying, like, my mom's a fucking lunatic was a pretty good
if they're
option.
keeping you like locked in a cage in a basement and then they forget to lock it one night and you bust out and they
Right.
try to stop
She
you
tried
and
to
kill
run
them,
away
that's
one
different.
time.
Yeah.
She tried to physically run away, and the mom got her and chained her to the bed.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
pretty serious abuse.
That is.
Yeah. So she does mention my mom did not deserve to be murdered, but she deserved to go through this, what I'm going through. She did deserve to go to jail. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think the girls learned. I wouldn't be afraid that she was going to murder another person
Yeah.
or anything like that. But,
I mean, she'll get out of prison. She'll probably write a book, and she'll thrive because of what she went
she
through.
can't get a job. So
Yeah, true.
I hope she does write a book.
She can't vote.
She can't vote, no. But that's what I mean.
Unless
people-
Bernie Sanders becomes president. Then she might be able to.
But God, politics. I'm just
Sorry.
No,
I didn't
no.
mean to digress
it wasn't
to that.
Like all of a sudden, like I started to have the thought about just how much like this podcast is going to become about politics once the 2020 elections.
You
I
have
can't
to.
wait. I can't
It's gonna
wait.
have
Yeah,
to.
exactly. You have
People
to.
want to know takes, and this is unfortunately one of the only ways to get a opposite point of view out there without being completely censored. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. I was while we're on the subject, actually, I wanted to ask you, Justin. So we discussed a couple days ago about how Joe Biden just announced that he was running, and we're both pretty confident that it's going to be Trump versus Biden.
You are?
Right. Well, at least I am. I don't mean to speak for Matthew, but I wanted to get your take if you think it's going to be Trump and Biden, because I feel like Biden's just the only like logical choice for the Democrats at this point. Maybe not logical, but definitely the favorite.
The thing is, I don't know. Okay, Biden has some dirt, so I don't know if he's going to fare very well in a debate. I think that up until debates, whoever has the most money is going to start doing better.
You're talking about just like the Democratic debates, right? Like with all just the people nominating themselves for. Okay.
Yeah. So like before the pre-primary.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So Joe Biden has some dirt, and I think that once the debates come, Bernie Sanders is either going to really rise or really sink.
I think he's going to really sink.
Because that's when he actually did really well against Hillary Clinton. He's a one-issue voter, and unfortunately, income equality has really turned into an issue of accountability, because just the direction the country's starting to go in, like, I just don't think that's going to be the hot topic anymore. I think this whole 1% business, especially knowing that Bernie is in the 1% and he is a millionaire, and his targets are always millionaires and billionaires. But it's going to come down to debates. Now, I believe that Kamala Harris is, we really just went full swing into it. I think that Kamala Harris is going to fare very, very well in debates. Okay. I don't think she'll necessarily win, but I think that it's going to actually be really interesting to look at for both parties, actually. Just this shit show of this process on the Democratic Party side.
Well, that's exactly my point, though, is I feel like everybody who's announced that they're running currently, it's a shit show.
Yes.
It is definitely a shit show. So that's why I feel like when Biden was like, oh, I'm going to run, I just felt like it was no question. Like, it's going to end up being Trump versus Biden. I do think Trump's still going to win. But
I think he'll win.
I think
You'll never know.
It's going to be those two, though.
I would have not have known Trump was going to win in the very beginning when he announced his candidacy.
It fucking shocked all of us.
So, I mean, but whether most people realize it or not, I think that we are systemically and by policy. Our system and our policy are all going in the right direction. It depends on how the economy is right during that time and what the hot topic is. Because if it's immigration, our country has not budged on how important immigration is. It's actually become more of an issue even on the Democratic side. Yeah. I think that's going to be a huge one. And especially as we see things deteriorate overseas, we all have the internet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But no, I don't know if it's going to come down to voting between those two. I will say Biden's the most likable because of the way that the whole meme thing went out toward the end of Obama. And that does sing to this millennial generation and Gen Z as well. A lot of it is about the memes. Unfortunately, that's so embarrassing to talk about.
Just say it out loud, right? It's true, though. I mean, fuck, what was it? In the 2016 elections, there was enough of a percentage of people that like get news coverage about that voted for Harambe, the fucking gorilla.
He actually made it on
Yeah, like
to the statistics.
Like, yeah, exactly. Enough people, and it wasn't like just 1% of people voted. It was like a 5 to 7% of people voted for Harambe.
That's insane. Maybe 5 to 7% in a state. I can't imagine it was the entire thing.
You know what? I have to look this up.
Yeah, let's look that up.
I'm really curious.
I'm going to be really sad.
I thought that was fucking crazy. Like you're literally, you might as well just not have voted.
Because then Harambe did better than Jill Stein. I think it's probably like 5% in a state somewhere. Like that one guy in Utah.
Well, they fucked around and actually, like, elected a fucking gorilla as president.
A dead one?
Like an actual, yeah, what if they fucked around and did that? And then the country's like, oh shit, what do we do now?
I'm pretty sure
It'd be
that would
unprecedented.
easily be rectified. I'm pretty sure he'd be, Harambe would be immediately
the people have
impeached and
spoken.
replaced.
It's so funny. This is a perfect example of fake news. So when I typed in how many votes for Harambe in 2016, the first thing that pops up and the second thing that pops up says stories that Harambe got anywhere from 11,000 to 15,000 votes on election day are, and in all caps, flat out false. Yes, there were pranksters out there who wrote in Harambe's name on their ballot, but there's no way we'd know by Tuesday night exactly how many people did. So what's funny about that, though, is I remember days after the election, multiple news stations reporting, saying that a great amount of people wrote down Harambe's name as in their ballot, enough to get on the statistics board. And like, now I'm showing all this stuff, like recent stuff that's like, no, people did not vote for Harambe. There wasn't enough people who voted for him to get it up there, blah, blah. There were some votes, but nowhere near what these news stations were covering it as. But I didn't hear any fucking,
I believe that the news stations would lie for ratings.
I believe it
that
also.
completely.
And that's what's funny is because I don't remember seeing any like headlines of, CNN or Fox coming on saying, oh, remember when we told you guys all about Harambe? Well, sorry,
our bad. We
fucked
were
that
wrong.
up. Yeah.
So after Trump was sworn into office and after he was elected, we saw a lot of funny images of many social justice warriors. Some of the most intense,
Most
obnoxious,
yeah.
flamboyant, over the top everything. My favorite still being that over dramatic.
The screamer from election day.
No, it was the inauguration.
Yeah. Okay, you're right. The inauguration.
And she was making like an energy ball with her hands. There's so much potential. There's so much potential.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm just wondering, what are we gonna see if he's elected again?
I think we're actually going to see a lot of digressing from that kind of shit, because I think it got to a point to where it was so over the top to where I think that side is now starting to understand that people aren't taking them seriously. Even people on their own side.
They memified themselves.
Yes, they memified themselves. That's exactly what they did. So I think come 2020, I think you might see some of that, but not nearly as over the top. And I don't think as nearly as much as you did 2016, because they know now that they have to be taken seriously in order to fucking win. So I think that's exactly what they're going. Because you know what, it's funny. So I was actually talking about this with Matthew a little bit in regards to something else, though. And that was something you and I watch a lot, are like the Ben Shapiro talks and debates, right?
Right.
Well, there was a time back closer to the 2016 elections, both pre and post, where you would watch these Q&As Ben Shapiro would do at his shows. And again, you'd get these very obnoxious, over-the-top social justice warrior types who are basically, yelling nonsensical shit at Ben Shapiro, which Ben Shapiro was able to very easily, combat in, Ben Shapiro fashion. But now when more recent videos just from this year alone surface of these Ben Shapiro Q&As, he'll still have far left liberals going up and asking questions, but they're standing there. They have like notes now that they're reading from, and they're like okay, and I came to watch you talk. I came to watch you talk because I do think it's important to listen. I just want to say that up front. I do think, but I do disagree. But and they'll. It's like they're trying to be polite, but just coming off as, still bougie and pompous anyway.
Yes.
But they're trying because they know people weren't taking them seriously before.
And they know how easy they can end up as a meme
but it goes
on
to,
YouTube.
Yeah. But it goes to show you that being, quote unquote, the bigger man in these situations actually is the way to go, because by just doing that, you're seeing this digression from the social justice warrior side of this loud over the top shit because it wasn't being taken seriously. And how are these people reacting now? Even though they may still be asking outrageous questions, they're still being met with very polite responses because that's all these people wanted. They just want you to be polite and respectful to them when you're asking, not over the top. And now actually I would argue we're starting to get somewhere with the discussions.
I didn't even know that much dumbassery existed in our country until after that happened. And as a lifelong Democrat, that was the first time that I ever said, I think I need to not associate with these people for a little while.
I think I need to rethink this.
Yeah. Like, I didn't know that the people I was surrounding myself with had that capability.
Oh, yeah. Your Facebook has leveled out dramatically.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like a few years ago when you used to just put like one little sentence on Facebook.
Well, once that happened, right? So once the election happened, and I kind of started to question, like, all right, so maybe I'm not going to completely cement myself to this platform, and associate with these people regardless of whatever they say. I used to say, I'm a Democrat, because just the issues at hand really seemed to match my mode of thinking. So when that happened, I started to think, oh goodness, okay, well, maybe I should start being independent. Maybe I shouldn't necessarily follow that. And then I started asking questions, right? So I wanted to know about feminism. I was really curious, like, so what's this big deal with feminism? From what I understand, it's just equal rights. Why do we seem to have this schism over whether feminism is right or whether it's wrong? And it was a real, legit question. And my God, it erupted. That was the first big post that I could not believe there was such a...
And when we say big guys, we're talking hundreds of comments.
Back and forth to each other,
post.
people making fun of each other, people calling each other names. And I do my best to not call names and not use bad language in public forums. I just prefer to not be tied to that when I'm referenced at all. So I just couldn't believe how willing people were to call each other dumbasses and rapists and bigots and all the phobes, all the different new kinds of phobes we all of a sudden had everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I continue to ask questions, and I'd see people on the right really just wanting to fill me in with information, and on the left just wanting me to attack for either trying to incite an argument or for thinking that I actually didn't know and how bigoted that was of me.
Right.
And then the issues started to change. Then we really started focusing on immigration and the wall. And these were all things that I felt a little bit more right of center for. And then I was ostracized. So I'm actually very willing to back a presidential candidate. And I would love to see a Democrat that appears to be more effective and forward than Trump is. I would love that.
Right.
Because there's a lot of things with the Republican Party that I do not like. Like, the abolishment of sex education in school.
Yeah, there's a lot of outlandish. That's the thing. Like, there's definitely a far left and there's definitely a far right, but the problem is there's a lot of people who fall on this mass spectrum in the middle. And unfortunately, there's this giant, herd mentality of like if somebody says they're Democrat, you're automatically assuming, oh, you're on the far left of the fence. Or if somebody says they're Republican, it's, oh, you're on the far right. It's like, no, there's a fucking spectrum, ladies and gentlemen. Just because when people define themselves as that, it usually just means they agree with more on this side. Or sometimes it's not even like most of the policies. There are some people who just like the Republicans because they think they're better with money. They may agree with everything the Democrats say, but they want somebody who knows or who they think is going to do better with money in office.
They're good at spending money.
That too.
Historically, just saying.
One time I posted, I think it was, and I quote, "So from what I understand, Antifa seems like another terrorist organization," unquote, or end quote. So that's what it seemed like to me. They were attacking everybody. They weren't saying anything new or different or anything. It was just violence. And someone says back to me, "Oh, so then how do you feel about this alt-right?" And this is at the very beginning, this whole alt-right thing. And I said, "Oh, do they also physically harm people or property?"
Right.
And then it looked like I was just defending them. I really wanted to know if the alt-right, whoever they were at the time, I know who they are now, what constitutes them, but if they were destroying property or harming people.
Right.
And that was me defending the alt-right. So then I was immediately, as a, Mexican, gay band, opera singer,
Right.
from Los Angeles.
Not racking up a lot of points.
Somehow I was on the alt-right, even though I'm like very, very pro-Israel, and I don't know. I just didn't get it.
I don't even know shit about that. I don't even know anything about that.
Yeah.
What?
The whole, the what did you just
Israel
talk
and
it?
stuff like that.
The far
Alt-right?
Alt-right. I don't know.
Oh,
I
the
don't know anything
alt-right.
about that.
That.
I don't know how you can escape it.
It's basically Nazis. That was basically like if you were all right, you were a Nazi. That was kind of
The
joke.
So the
alt-right-
alt-right was not all right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
ALT, like the alternative right. So it's pretty much right-wing liberals with a lot of very open racism and anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't sound
But
very...
it was one of those. If you said you were Republican or conservative, that just meant you were alt right. Period. End of story.
Like Ben Shapiro,
yeah, Ben Shapiro,
the Jew.
the Orthodox Jew, mind you. Yeah, he
literally
was
wears
being
a yarmulke.
called like Nazi and stuff on Twitter. Yeah. Fucking Ben Shapiro.
That's ridiculous.
Regardless whether you agree with Ben Shapiro's viewpoints or not, the Jew is not a Nazi, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
It's
He
just
never condoned any kind of
Yes.
violence of any kind.
zero.
Not only that, but that
know?
just means that these people who are saying things like you're a Nazi don't know what a Nazi is.
Well,
it's
that was
insane.
Well, we've talked about that on the podcast too, where there was just this giant issue for a while where just people were just throwing out whatever words they wanted and then saying that's offensive because that actually means this and changing the definition of a word on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
And as long as it fit whatever narrative, whatever side was trying to work with, it was like, okay, yeah, that's what that word means now. It's exactly what that word means.
Matthew and I were actually talking, I think it was earlier today. And it was something about how I'll have a point of view about something and I'll say it. And it's literally an opinion, just like we have here today. My opinion on the table, right? Mm-hmm. And somebody will say to me, "Oh, you're just so smart." And a part of me wants to say like, "Well, thank you." But a part of me just says, "You poor soul. I just offered an opinion. I did not reinvent something. I did not write this information. I just gave my opinion about it." And then Matthew goes, "Well, it's probably because you're a good speaker. You speak well." Well, he said you talk well, and I corrected him and said you speak well.
And I said, well, I don't.
And then I thought, once again, thank you, but that is also sad because too many times we have people saying things like, "He's not a good speaker, so I don't like him." And it's like that is what determines whether or not you like someone who's supposed to mold our country.
But the thing is, but people aren't agreeing with you or taking your opinion as fact because they're saying to themselves, well, he's good at speaking, you know, so I think everybody does it subconsciously.
Right.
I mean, it's the same with history though. We saw with Hitler, you know, the man.
Right.
Oh, Adam just called you Hitler.
But that's
You're
the
a Nazi,
thing.
Justin.
That's really sad.
Yeah,
Someone
right,
thinking
it's
that you're
sad.
intelligent means that they want to listen to you. They want to follow you. Usually, especially if they admire you in any way. And being a good speaker, we have to make that the standard. We shouldn't make that something that puts you above somebody else, because then if we all spoke well, nobody would have the sheet pulled over their eyes by some pretty words or some good, simply good English.
Well, that's why it's important to keep people educated and to, teach things like, good etiquette when speaking and
Grammar.
knowing how to become a good grammar when speaking, or being able to being a good speaker, is because we live in an age right now where there's always a balance between the amount of information you're given and the amount of false information you're given. When it was just what you had word from mouth, what some people were saying were true and what some people were saying was false. And where we live in a day and age now where we have all the information at our fingertips through the internet, but we also have as much false information on the internet as we do. So it gets to this point where you have to kind of just choose, like, okay, who am I going to follow? This person who's boring to listen to but might be spouting out facts but I can't listen to for more than 5 minutes, or this person who sounds like they're pretty confident in knowing what they're talking about, and they're just automatically going to choose that person. So I mean, it's just...
But that's what I was saying. That's just really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's sad.
We even got into with Asian countries, how they don't really have as much. You can't really pull the wool over their eyes as much because their languages are very tonal. Mm-hmm. So there's a certain way that you speak. A different the same word in two tones means two different things.
Right.
And they value education. And they value respect and compassion and all of that. So I think we need to raise the standard, but I don't think the system...
They also have a word that means worked yourself to death.
Yeah, they literally have a word. Look it up real quick, Adam. Japanese word for work yourself to death. Okay.
Like how we have to use 5 or 6 words to say that.
There's literally a noun
It's just
for the phenomenon of that happening. Mm-hmm. And that is a cause of death.
Yeah.
Karoshi.
That just means
overworked death.
Yeah.
It means overworked death.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So that's just a thing, and they needed a word for it because it happens so often.
The major medical causes of Karoshi deaths are a heart attack and stroke due to stress and a starvation diet. Crazy. There's literally a word for it. Well, we should adopt that word over here because
nobody here does that.
I'm having such bad karoshi.
Oh.
What's wrong with you, Justin?
It sounds like a
Karoshi.
restaurant, doesn't it? Let's go to Karoshi tonight.
Well, I'm about to karoshi right now. This was such a long day.
Well, it's a long day. Well, we went 7 minutes over time.
Oh, look at that.
That's
Got no time
why.
for a
You're
little
welcome.
bit, yeah.
You're welcome, guys.
I'm done at an hour. I'm at Karoshi now.
I'm at Karoshi now. You have to push yourself to the limits, Justin. That's how you reach Karoshi in the first place. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's Hardly Millennial podcast. Remember, you can follow us on all the social media platforms. We also have a Patreon, www.patreon.com/Hardly Millennial. Thank you very much. And any final thoughts, Justin?
I need some sugar so I don't have karoshi.
Any final thoughts, Matthew?
The color of this pen is blue.
The goddamn pen is blue. Ladies
See you
and
guys
gentlemen,
tomorrow. Love you.
have a good night.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Justin.
Bye, you guys.
Thank you.